Have you ever wondered how your favorite food delivery app knows exactly which building you're in? Or, how city planners decide the absolute perfect spot to put a new subway station? It doesn't happen by magic. It's all driven by an invisible, seriously powerful technology that literally runs our modern world. Okay, let's dive into this explainer and unlock the hidden anatomy of GIS and GPS.
By the end of this explainer, I promise you're going to be a certified armchair cartography expert. So here's our roadmap. We're going to hit 6 key building blocks. We'll start with the mapping sandwich, move into the anatomy of a map, break down raster versus vector data, look at the rules of geometry, figure out exactly how GPS works, and finally, we'll bring it all together by building the final map.
All right, starting right off with Section 1, the mapping sandwich.
So, to really wrap our heads around modern mapping, we have to talk about GIS. Now, the strict academic definition states that Geographic Information Systems, or GIS, is a computer-based system designed to capture, store, manipulate, analyze, manage, and present spatial data. A bit of a mouthful, right? But to put it really simply, GIS is just the ultimate tool that connects the where, the exact location, with the what, the descriptive information about that specific spot.
Think of GIS literally like a sandwich. A really good sandwich has multiple, distinct layers, right? You've got your bread, lettuce, tomato, cheese. Well, GIS works exactly the same way, but instead of ingredients, we're using data. Let's say we're studying environmental changes in the Himalayas. You could take one map layer showing deforested areas and overlay it with a second map layer showing newly built tourist lodges. By stacking these layers together in our GIS sandwich, we can instantly see if that new tourism infrastructure is overlapping with and potentially causing that environmental damage. It's a total game changer.
Now, making this whole system work requires 5 specific components, and I love this fun little insider mnemonic to remember them. Happy students do pass maths. That stands for hardware, software, data, people, and methods. You need the physical computers, the software programs to run the analysis, the specialist pushing the buttons, and the business rules or methods. But take a close look at that middle one, data. Gathering those high-res satellite images and detailed street maps is absolutely the most important and usually the most expensive piece of the entire GIS puzzle.
Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of a Map.
Every good map, whether it's glowing on your digital screen or printed out on a giant piece of paper, needs specific anatomical features to actually be readable and useful. To remember the 5 crucial elements, just think of another fun trick. 3 little ninjas sing constantly. We absolutely need a title, so we know what we're looking at, a legend to decode all the symbols, a north arrow for proper orientation, a scale to measure real-world distance, and a citation to give credit where it's due. Without these 5 elements, a map is really just a confusing drawing. And speaking of scale, this is where things get a bit counterintuitive. Actually, scratch that. It makes perfect sense once you look at the math. A large-scale map actually shows a very small area, but in massive detail. Think of a 1 to 5,000 scale map of a single local village where you can literally see every single building. A small-scale map, on the flip side, shows a massive area but with very little detail, like a 1 to 1 million scale map of the entire country of India. It all comes down to the ratio.
Okay, Part 3, Raster versus Vector.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the massive contrast between the 2 main ways we store all this GIS data. Raster data is built using pixels or grid cells, so it looks a lot like a digital photograph. Because of this, it is absolutely perfect for continuous data that flows smoothly across a landscape, like a satellite image tracking Himalayan snow cover or temperature changes. Vector data, however, is built using precise points, lines, and polygons. It looks much more like a sketch or a blueprint. It's highly compact and best used for discrete, hard-edge data, like mapping out the exact path of a national highway or drawing strict property borders.
That brings us to Section 4, Rules of Geometry.
The real secret sauce of GIS lies in perfectly matching up our spatial data with our non-spatial data. The spatial data gives us our exact geometry. That's the where. For example, the precise latitude and longitude coordinates of a natural water spring. The non-spatial data gives us the attributes, the what. That would be a connected database table detailing the water's exact depth, its chemical quality, and its local name. They have to work together perfectly.
But to keep all this spatial geometry organized without causing massive real-world errors, GIS relies on strict mathematical rules called topology. There are 3 key rules we apply here. First, adjacency, checking which polygons share a border, like making sure India and Nepal sit perfectly next to each other in the system without any weird gaps. Second, connectivity, ensuring that when two vector lines meet, like in a road network, they actually connect at an intersection. If they don't, your routing software would completely break. And third, containment, making absolutely sure that a mapped city is locked entirely inside its state boundary.
Next up, Section 5, How GPS Works.
So, how do we get all this primary location data to feed into our computers? The Global Positioning System. GPS is a total marvel of modern engineering, operating in all weather conditions, anywhere on Earth. And it functions through three distinct segments working in total harmony. First, the space segment, a constellation of satellites continuously orbiting our planet and broadcasting signals downward. Second, the control segment, a network of ground-based monitor stations tracking those exact satellites and correcting their orbital paths. And third, the user segment, the receiver sitting right there in your smartphone, your car's navigation, or a surveyor's equipment.
And this brilliantly illustrates a really common misconception. People often think your phone sends a signal up to space to find your location. It definitely doesn't. Your receiver only listens for signals coming down. Because we know the speed of light, your phone simply calculates the exact time that signal took to travel from the satellite down to your hand. By multiplying that time by the speed of light, it calculates exactly how far away that satellite is. It's just brilliant math.
So, the crucial point is that one satellite only tells you how far away you are from that single point in space. To get your exact real-world 3D location, meaning your latitude, your longitude, and crucially your elevation, your GPS receiver needs a clear line of sight to a minimum of 4 satellites. By finding the exact intersecting point of the distances from those 4 satellites, a process called trilateration, the system pinpoints your exact spot on Earth.
But as we all know, sometimes your phone stubbornly insists you're driving in the middle of a river or standing a full block away from where you actually are. Why does that happen? Well, accuracy errors. The signal can be slowed down by atmospheric interference as it passes through the ionosphere. You can also experience something called multipath error. This happens when you're downtown and the satellite signal bounces off a tall skyscraper before finally hitting your phone, which tricks your phone into thinking the satellite is further away than it actually is. Finally, if all the satellites your phone can currently see are clustered tightly together in just one corner of the sky, the geometry is weak, making the whole calculation much less accurate.
And finally, Section 6, Building the Final Map.
Okay, before we can do our final analysis and solve a real-world problem, we have to perform a vital step called georeferencing. You see, if you fly a drone and take a massive photo of a city, the computer has absolutely no idea where that photo belongs on Earth. Georeferencing is the process of taking that flat, normal image and permanently assigning real-world latitudes and longitudes to specific points on it. This pins it down so it sits perfectly aligned right over our digital globe.
Now we can run the full GIS process from start to finish. Let's say a city needs to know exactly where to build a new hospital. First, we identify that problem. Then, we collect our data, maybe using GPS to mark existing clinics and downloading local population density tables. We input all this into our software. We georeference our base map so everything lines up perfectly. Then comes the real magic, the analysis. We ask the software to analyze the layers and highlight areas with high population density but no clinic within a 10-kilometer radius. Finally, we produce our map output, fully equipped with our title, legend, scale, and north arrow, all ready to be handed directly to the mayor.
It truly is incredible how much invisible spatial data is guiding the physical world around us every single day. So, the next time you walk out your front door, I want you to look around and ask yourself, if you were to build a GIS sandwich of your own neighborhood, what hidden data layers would you find? Where are the underground water pipes, the zoning lines, the population clusters? The world is just out there, waiting to be mapped. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.